everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today is June 26, 2024. This is the daily read for the collective. It doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you're located. As far as the date is right, hopefully you can benefit from this read. When judgment is something that we can improve today, it is time to ask ourselves, are we experiencing judgment in our lives? How do we judge the people around us, the situation around us? And do we feel judged by our environment and our situation and the people around us? Are the judgments helpful? Are they necessary? Or they are just probably partially beneficial, partially destructive, because sometimes there's no absolute answer. So it is best to acknowledge the fact that making the judgment call, sometimes there are benefits, but there are also, you know, uh, things that it will not change. Judgment is also about scrutinizing a situation. We might feel like, oh, we didn't do the right thing. Maybe things could be better, but it doesn't seem to be getting better. Then we'll start scrutinizing the situation, scrutinizing ourselves, scrutinizing the others. While sometimes scrutinizing the situation can help us, bring the clarity to the situation so we can move on. But at the same time, we should not forget about the progress of life. Some things that are not right currently, they might change in the long run. So please bear in mind about this, because change is consistent and change is unavoidable in life. And change also leads to revival. Judgment card can also represent the revival of something. It can be a revival of a mentality, a revival of a job, a revival of a relationship. It can be the relationship with yourself or with the others. On a practical level, some of you might consider taking care of the, anything related to air conditioner, fan, whatever things that will blow the air. Perhaps a household item. Some of you might be involved in some musical groups. As this, you see this angel in the picture, is actually making an announcement. But sometimes I also see it as, you know, being in a music group and performing to the audience. Judgment can also mean an announcement. There might be something that you decide that you have to announce today. It's time to make the announcement because the timing is right. Maybe someone is making an announcement that actually affects you or the general situation. Um, I can understand the fact that some of you might be needing to face a situation where somebody is making a judgment call, and you have to be firm about what you are doing, and don't let them rock your foundation, because well, while at the same time we can't deny the fact that they might know something that we don't know or we might not be aware of. But at the same time, they might not be right. So, in order to really process the information that we received today, it is very important to be not, biased. Even though at the end of the day, probably we're all gonna be biased towards ourselves or something. But it is important to try not to be biased and try to bring in the balance, even though the announcement or maybe the information might not be something that we hope for. And I also feel like today there might be something that can stir the pot. Maybe someone in a group, in a family group, or maybe at the workplace, whatever, they might stir the pot because of their personal situation. They might make an announcement and everybody's gonna be like, whoa, whoa, things gonna change, that kind of vibe. So just be aware of that. And also we also need to be aware of there might be someone who wants to take the lead in a situation and they want to say things out loud. They want to be heard. They don't want to be suppressed. Perhaps their personal experiences, perhaps they have been under a lot of stress recently, or maybe it has been a long time. It depends from situation to situation. But somebody, if they want to say something, even though we might not be agreeing with them, let's try to respect. Let's try to respect, and not to trigger. Try not to trigger their feelings, because the things that they're gonna say probably have been brewing for a very long time, and if we step in and suddenly, prevent them from speaking their truth, it can be problematic. As you can see in this photo, the angel is making an announcement and the angel is expecting everybody to listen. So It might be a good thing, it might be a bad thing, it depends. Um, but I would suggest most of you to listen first. Listen first. Act later. Don't act immediately, and don't engage in, you know, try not to engage in feisty conversations and try to let the others speak first. Because quite often, many of us will feel like, okay, there has to be an exchange. We have to let our thoughts be out there also. But today, things might be a little bit different. It is better to let that particular person to say whatever they need to say first. Um, if you are in anger about what they are saying, um, please calm down. Let them finish. Because anger does not help. And sometimes when some people they have stored a lot of anger and a lot of frustrations and they need to vent, let them vent. Let them do it. Knowing that you have the capacity to deal with the situation probably better than the others and better than the people who need to speak up today. So um try to position yourself as someone who listens and who respects. So hopefully this will be better for everyone. Well, you may say, okay, if I let them speak, so when will I be speaking? It depends. Um, but there is a situation where someone has to be active and someone has to be passive. So we need to figure out in what situation we need to be actively engaging in and also actively speaking out our minds, and when do we need to be passive and to be listening. Because some of you might need to make an announcement today, and there's nothing wrong to make the announcement. But for the people who's gonna make the announcement, uh, you have to understand the fact that maybe the others they're not expecting this from you, but you're doing it. So you're pushing the boundaries, and you might surprise them somehow, but at the same time, sometimes we need to push the boundaries because we cannot always be complying and obeying, right? So it depends. It depends on whether you are the group that is passively listening today or actively announcing. Um, just be aware that the situation can be kind of not as usual as, I mean, not as usual as before. I don't know what I'm saying, but I think you get the gist. So anyway, um, well, I think as for a certain amount of you, you might be dealing with um, a funeral situation where you need to pick the casket for the for the people who passed away. And I'm sorry for that, but it is possible. So I hope this read can bring you some clarity. And by the way, this card can also mean pilgrimage, going for something that you have a calling for, and following your calling is important, because we all have our callings. If you're not sure about what calling is, then it is a time to ask yourself, what do you want to do in your life? What do you want to achieve in your future? What do you want to manifest? What do you feel the most close to your heart? So I hope this video is helpful, and if you like the video, please consider liking and subscribing. I really appreciate. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.